Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for being here. In this video, we're going to share with you the single most important thing you need to decide right now to ensure your next cruise is perfect. Get this right, you're going to have an amazing time. Get this wrong, unfortunately, you're probably going to have a miserable time. And that comes down to choosing the right cruise line for you. We're going to break down over the next few minutes the top categories and cruise lines to ensure that you have the best cruise possible.
The temptation is to choose your itinerary first, but resist that temptation because cruise lines are vastly different. Then you'll have an amazing time.
Let's find you the perfect next cruise. So the first category we have is those of you who might consider yourself a party animal. If you need like nonstop entertainment, live music, dance parties, high energy, a super active social scene with lots of bars, nightclub, late night dancing, a really vibrant atmosphere, and probably a fairly young cruise overall age-wise, then these cruise lines are going to be perfect for you. And we consider the best ones for those of you who might be a party animal to be Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Virgin Voyages. And what's interesting about Virgin Voyages, I don't want you to feel like you can't sail on Virgin Voyages and have a little quieter time. If you're on that cruise line, you have to be good with high energy parties, dance parties, things like that. You don't have to always participate, really, but know what you're getting into. Carnival is, of course, known as the fun ship. It shouldn't surprise you. That is about fun, drinking, parties. And Royal Caribbean is more of a mix. The newer ships that go on shorter itineraries, like less days, are definitely more party ships. If you're on a 14-day cruise, it's going to Europe on Royal Caribbean, it's not going to be a party ship. But if you're on a three to 4 day cruise on Royal Caribbean out of somewhere in Florida to the Caribbean, that's going to be a party cruise. So these are the ones for you.
Our next category is intimate escapes. So this is more of getting into smaller ports, having travel destination experience. Typically, these are smaller ships as well. So you're not going to have the massive, big party cruise ships with a much more refined experience.
What we feel are the best cruise lines, if you want to have that small ship magic, are going to be Azamara, Windstar, Seabourn, Oceania, and Viking. And like Monica mentioned, like for instance, Azamara is going to be 600 to 700 passengers. Viking Cruise Lines is closer to 1,000. So that may not be as intimate, but understand the big cruise lines, they pack on 5, 6, 7,000 people. So these tend to be much smaller than that. Be aware also, for instance, on Oceania, they have some ships that they're well over 1,000 people, and they have another part of their fleet, which is only 500 or 600 people. So focus on the smaller ships if you're looking for this intimate escape. Also, just to be aware, normally the average age on these cruise lines will be higher for sure than a cruise line on Royal Caribbean, Virgin Voyages, Carnival. So just understand that as well. If you are somebody who's very young, these may not be your first choice as well. This next category is if you're somebody who really wants the latest high-tech experience on your ship, you want the best Wi-Fi, the best connectivity, you want interactive stateroom technology where you can control your drapes, the lighting, everything else. You want the best apps, you want digital experiences, you want really cool technology in the shows, then these next cruise lines are going to be what's going to deliver that for you.
The high-tech ships would include Royal Caribbean, which has some of the most high-tech features at sea, the best production shows and everything, all the bells and whistles. Celebrity Cruises, MSC Cruises, Princess, and also Virgin Voyages, which also has some very cool tech features in their stateroom that you will really enjoy. You can control all the aspects of your stateroom.
Things like the lighting, the music, the background, your shades, your temperature, all off of your smartphone or even a tablet that's in your stateroom. Do understand, I have a note there, newer the better. Understand that Royal Caribbean has a huge fleet, 20, 30 ships. If you go ahead and book on one of their older ships, you're not going to have the latest high tech unless it's been upgraded over the last few years. So that's something you're going to want to look for. Celebrity is the same situation. They have a class of older ships, then a class that's called Solstice class that's fairly current, but you're going to want to focus more on their newer class of ships, which are their Edge class, like the Apex, the Edge, the Beyond. That's going to have the latest tech and bells and whistles. Princess, I got to say the same thing. They have a lot of ships in their fleet. If you focus on older ships, they're not going to have the latest tech. So you're looking for brand new ships, typically over the last few years from these cruise lines. You're going to be really happy. Virgin has 3 identical ships. They're all out in the last few years, so they're going to have the same tech across all of those ships. All right, so this next category I know is really important. Look, food is essential on any cruise line. We want great restaurants. We want great bars. Most cruise lines have a really good food program overall. But if you're really somebody who is a foodie and you want to focus on the best food at sea, we put on here what we think is typically going to be the cruise lines that have the most elevated food overall. Silver Sea Cruises, Oceania, Regent, Celebrity, Seabourn, and Virgin Voyages. Now understand, Silver Sea, to a lesser extent, Oceania, Regent, and Seabourn are very expensive. If you want great food, but you don't have to pay quite luxurious prices, Celebrity and Virgin Voyages are two really great choices. Celebrity is a step above most of the mass market cruise lines like Princess, Royal Caribbean, Carnival. Virgin Voyages has amazing specialty restaurants. They include it into your fare, and the food there is just typically at a different level than, again, most mass market cruise lines. But if you're a foodie, these are the cruise lines you want to focus on.
The next category is adults-only havens. So it's not unusual to find kids on ships, but there are some cruise lines that have fewer kids. So if you're not interested in having kids on your ship, then you want to look at something like Viking or Virgin Voyages, which is adults only. Other cruises that have fewer kids would be Windstar Cruises, Regent, Seven Seas, Oceania, and also Azamara. It really sometimes depends on the itinerary, but for the most part, you'll find fewer kids on these ships.
Yeah, sometimes they're multi-generational where it might be the grandparents to have some kids on board, but we're talking like five kids. We've sailed on Azamara, Oceania, and Windstar. It's been very few kids. Sometimes in the Caribbean over spring break, you might see a few more on a Windstar. So that's going to come down to this a little bit. But if you don't want to take that risk, you don't want to risk having kids on board, then Virgin Voyages or Viking would be the two best choices for you. We feel the best cruise lines for budget travelers are going to be Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, MSC, Princess, and Carnival. Now, I have to give you a little bit of an asterisk here. If you're going to book the latest cruise ship, like Icon of the Seas when we're recording this, or Utopia of the Seas from Royal Caribbean, it's going to be very expensive. However, if you go ahead and book the generation before or the first ship in a certain class, you'd be shocked. You might save 50% to 75% per night over the brand new ship that's just started to sail. Norwegian, going to be the same story. Princess, same story. So keep that in mind. It's very easy online to find when did the cruise come out. If it just got released this year or the last few months, I can guarantee you it's probably going to be twice as much as it'll be a year from now, and you'll have the exact same experience. Now, MSC is a bit of an exception. We've never sailed on MSC. It's very mixed. Some people really like it because the value is great. Some people hate it. You're going to have to probably do more research on this, but I can tell you some of the nightly rates are some of the lowest that we've seen. I put that one with a bit of asterisk on it because they can get very busy, very crowded, oversold. There can be a lot of kids. It's going to be one you're going to want to research more before you book it. You may absolutely love it for the value that you can get.
There's a lot of cruises that can be considered family friendly. They really cater to kids, first of all. They have kids programs, kids zones, youth programs, and things like that. A lot of family-focused dining options.
A lot of chicken
nuggets, onboard entertainment and activities, stateroom accommodations, and everything. So some of the cruise lines that I would put in this category would be Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Carnival, and of course, Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah, you almost can't go wrong with these cruise lines. That's why, as you saw, these didn't show up on 18 and over, or mostly adults, because you're going to have sometimes hundreds of kids on these cruise lines, but they're going to be having an amazing time. Plus, again, I say if you want the best experience, focus a bit more on the newer ships from these cruise lines. It doesn't have to be the newest one, but if you want the cool bumper cars and neat experiences and the upgraded kids clubs, you're going to want to focus on ships that probably were released over the last, say, 3 to 5 years or newer. At that point, you're going to have really the best bells and whistles, and your kids can have an amazing time on these ships. The next one is for luxury, right? So luxury means expensive. So these are the ones that are not going to be high discount. They're going to be very expensive on the nightly rate. You're not going to book these for $100 a night per person. Not possible. It might be $500 per person per night. It could even be $1,000 per person per night. But if that's you and you're looking for luxury, these are the cruise lines that we always think of. Seabourn, Regent, and Silver Sea. In addition, Viking positions themselves as a luxury cruise line. I'm going to say it's a bit more of a mixed experience. I think we've been on about 3 or 4 at this point on Viking. And there are things that are luxurious about it. The ships themselves are beautiful, but some of the experiences I don't put in the luxury category. Like we've had to wait a long time for dinners. We've also had shows that you can't even find a seat. There's some things that they do that to me don't fall on that truly catered to experience because you're spending a lot of money for that personalized, luxurious experience, you're going to spend 5 to 10 times as much as you would typically on more of a mass market cruise line. But these are the top choices in that category. Now, solo travelers, I know if you're listening and you're a solo traveler, you don't want to pay that big supplement. These are the cruise lines that seem to do the best job overall for solo travelers: Norwegian, Virgin, Holland America, and Royal Caribbean. Now, on Holland and Royal Caribbean in particular, you need to make sure that the cruise ship you book specifically on theirs has some solo cabins. Not all of their ships have them. Norwegian's done a really great job catering to solo travelers, and they have very specific cabins and even part of a deck floor that focuses on solo travelers, and even a get-together area for solo travelers. And I know Virgin Voyages as well does have some solo cabins. So again, be very careful, because sometimes, even though it's a solo cabin, it could end up being very expensive. I would always suggest you compare what it would cost to have 2 people in a room when you're just booking one person. See if you can book it yourself with a solo supplement. It could sometimes be cheaper than having to book a specific solo cabin. So that's just a little tip for those of you traveling on your own.
If you're an adventure seeker, there's a special class of cruise for you, and they're called expedition cruises. And there's some lines that do this very well. For example, Hurtigruten out of Norway, National Geographic, Ponant, and Silver Sea Expeditions.
Yeah, and we've been on a Silver Sea expedition down to the Galapagos, and it was amazing experience. It's really not super luxurious because it's a different type of experience. Silver Sea, for example, we consider a luxury experience on their luxury ships. Expedition ships are meant to get you into hard-to-reach places, have amazing staff on board, naturalists and everything like that, incredible equipment, zodiacs, what is it called?
Icebreakers.
Yeah, icebreakers. So really special type of trip. They're not inexpensive. They don't always have to be on the high end. Some of them can be reasonably affordable, but they will definitely be more expensive than a typical Princess Cruise Line or Carnival or Royal Caribbean. Those are our categories. So what I would suggest is go back through this video again a few more times. Look for the categories that matter the most to you. Only focus on those cruise lines. And then, like Monica said earlier, then go ahead to those cruise lines specifically and start to look in areas that you want to travel to. They're really easy to navigate that way. And now you've knocked out thousands of cruises you don't need to waste your time looking at. And you'll have that perfect cruise line to match the perfect itinerary. And you will then absolutely have the best cruise experience ever. If you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. We would love for you to subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Can you leave some comments down below? Give me your opinion on some of these categories: solo travelers, luxury lovers, family fun. Maybe you've got a different opinion on value cruise lines, or maybe you have a different opinion, on who's got the best tech, on board, or best small ship, or, if you're a party animal, maybe you've been on another cruise line, you're like, this was amazing. Share that down below as well. We would love to see that.
Maybe you've had a different experience. Let us know. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, comment down below, and we'll be back with you again in our next video.